We are in Kathmandu, Nepal, and today I'm speaking to Professor Zakia Zawa. Is that right? Thank you. Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.
And you are here from Pakistan.
Yes.
And you are a representative of SPELT, the Society of Pakistan English Language Teachers.
Yes.
So can you tell us a little bit about your background in English language learning and teaching?
My own background is that I was born in India, and I moved to Pakistan in 1954 when I had already done my matric. So part of my mental makeup and attitudes are from the Gandhian tradition of, doing work rather than showing off. I did my first MA in English literature, and I taught for 20 years, and I was about to say that I cannot teach anymore, because what was happening was that I found that my students were not able to get what I wanted to tell them to do. So then I did a diploma in teaching English as a foreign language with limited, I did a diploma. I did a diploma in teaching English as a foreign language from the University of Sydney in 1982. Then after another 10 years, I went to the University of Leeds and I did my MEd in TESOL. When I had gone for my diploma DipTEFL in Sydney, I had submitted a proposal for the MEd, which I wanted to do from Sydney University, and later on changed my mind. But I had already given my research proposal, which had been accepted by Sydney University, which was a 50-hour course teaching English as a foreign language with limited resources and large classes. That is where those were my main concerns, and so that's what I was doing. And so I devised a 50-hour course. And when I came back to Pakistan in '83, I was teaching in a college, and I did not do it in my class, but I said 100 students, first come, first served, who want to learn English. So because I wanted to counter the arguments that communicative language teaching cannot be taught in large classes. And so I said 100 students, 100 plus. So first 100 students that came were in my class, and I took 3 classes per week, 3 hours, so in 10 weeks I did 50 hours. So 50 hours course I devised, and I experimented with my students, and I found that the students were very willing to learn, and they liked the kind of activities, provided they were adapted to our situation. So I took local pamphlets, I took local texts and things which they were then able to do. It was very, very successful. And so I wanted to do it one more year, which I did. And then I moved to another college where I persuaded some of my colleagues to do it. First, in that college, for 1 year, I tried to integrate it in my own classes rather than do an outside class, because I realized that there are not that many teachers who want to spend 50 hours other than their duty hours to be teaching. So I tried to incorporate and adapt lessons and then at that point I also realized that learner autonomy is the only way to go about it. Now mind you, at that point in '83, I did not know of the term learner autonomy in the way it is now a buzzword. But I made self-created clothes, I made radio news, and I made other activities in which the students outside the class were guided with those activities to improve their English. So in the classroom, I still continued with my classroom courses, but the students were doing other things. But they did a profile card, and there were lots of interactive things that they did. And they were, and of course we went separately also. So that's how then I encouraged other teachers to do it in their class along with their courses.
You spoke yesterday in cooperation with a teacher from Nepal, actually.
That was the latest,
yes.
later stage. So first I did it for 2 years.
Yeah.
Then 3 teachers did it in my college. Then 5 teachers in 3 different colleges took up the materials and the methodology and the kinds of, the general framework. They were allowed to take their own activities and their own texts and things like this, but the general framework they took. And so there were 5 teachers from 3 different colleges who repeated this work. And now this was way back in 1998 or 1999 or about 2000. I cannot, I do not remember the dates. Then I had been looking for somebody who would replicate this in another country, similar country. And then Professor Gangaram Gautam from Tribhuvan University read my publications, which were on these 3 stages that I had been through. So there are 3 international publications to that effect. And so he had read all of those, and he said that he would like to replicate it in Nepal. And this happened December 2013, January 2014, 10 weeks. It had to be, we had thought that we'd finish it in 13, but there were uprisings in Nepal at that time, and the schools were closed for a while. Those are the things, hazards that we have in our countries. So then Ganga replicated it with the framework, and once or twice a week we would Skype, and then we would discuss what he'd done, and then I would guide him and tell him, because you see, a lot of time teachers think that teachers need to tell students things to do, and I must say Ganga was very open to everything. He did things that way, but when I said, no, try it like this, then he tried it and he said, yes, I agree with you, students can learn on their own with the guidance that you give them. And so, and we even went on, he didn't have the tape for jazz chants, for instance, and one of the favorite things that my groups had always liked was, shh, shh, baby sleep, and so I remembered, I'd done it so many times and I remembered it, and so he recorded me when I was in Boston, and then played it to the teacher, his students here, which was fun. So the project that he did here was a thumping success. It was with over 45 students, and we added a few more things to it because we realized that the students mostly want to learn to speak to each other. So we got, I had worked out on a language club for language proficiency, which they can have outside the class, this club, and 4 of them get together and speak in a certain manner. So they did all of that, and they were very, very happy.
How would you say, what are the main differences between the program that you were creating and what they traditionally or regularly would do in an English classroom?
I would say that basically the focus on giving learners the choice and opportunities to learn is different from what the traditional classrooms are. I was just talking to some Nepalese teachers just now who were saying, how can we have learner autonomy in our classes when we've got such courses to deal with? I said, well, I think it's a question of how you look at it. A very small thing in which you want to give learners choice is that you have got a textbook and you say, okay, these are the lessons that we have to do. These 8 lessons are for the first semester, first half and the second. So out of these, which ones would you like to do first? Or, grade them in order of your choice, and then we will do those lessons accordingly, because these textbooks are not graded properly. And so it doesn't matter if you do lesson 6 before you do lesson 1, you know. So basically the mindset of the teacher has to change, in which the teacher needs to trust students and first of all think that students want to learn. Because just now the attitude is students don't want to learn. So it's very easy to put the blame on them and say, but that's not the case. If you have engagement with learning, and if you want to focus on learning as such, students, once they know how sincere and serious you are, they follow you.
Yes.
They do things you want them to do. Because why wouldn't they want to learn? They know that this is something that will help them in their future life. And if they learn to become independent, they realize that rote learning is not the way. It's like somebody who is holding a stick to walk begins to walk on his own. Then he will not want to take the stick. You see? So the difference is between traditional teaching, and this is the mindset of the teachers mainly. I will not blame the students. Mindset of the teacher who thinks that the teacher is the source of knowledge. Teacher must correct everything, otherwise students will not learn. Now we know that students learn from a variety of ways. We know that teacher is not the only source of information, especially in the present day. I think there are a lot of things that my students know more than I do. And there's no harm in accepting that. I think if we do accept this and they see us as human beings, then the rapport in the classroom becomes better. And I say, oh, I don't understand this. Can you tell me how to do this? So the whole dynamics change. See, for 100 students, I had profile cards in which they told me about what they liked, what they didn't like, and what tickled them most was 2 questions which I said, what are your greatest strengths and what are your weaknesses? Then a lot of people said, they had never thought about it. So they give me that, and at my leisure, I can look at the picture, I can look at what they've said, so I know the pulse of my class. With nothing that I have done in the class, I've just given them those points and said, will you write a profile card about yourself because I want to know about you?
But
So
I think asking students, what's your opinion? Tell me about yourself. If they become engaged,
yes,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, very simple.
So then they realize that you are interested in them. That is the first step to have rapport with your students. And then other thing that I did was that I had name badges which were not the, here you cannot read. Only the first name on card, paper, pinned. So no name badges or anything, because we are poor, we cannot afford these things. Okay, and everybody has that in the class. And so I know people sitting right at the back, I can read their name and say, so Safia, what do you think of this? Now Safia, since she knows that I know her name, will be attentive because she knows I can call out anybody anytime. So these are very small things that can be done in large classes with limited resources, using your own mind to think out of the box and do things which will be helpful for learners.
It's a lovely project, I think. Thank you. Now, can you tell us a bit about Spelt, your involvement with Spelt?
Spelt is my baby.
Yes.
And I'm known as Mother Spelt, although there are other team members without whose help Spelt could not have been. But that is a dream that I have had for a long time, even before I went to America, to England for studies. So, but when I came back, I was busy with my project work, and the University Grants Commission, now known as HEC, held its first English language conference. I think that was a seminating point. It was like a seminal thing that happened, where English teachers were first time recognized that teaching English as language is different from teaching literature. the language literature divide continues, the pulls continue. We don't pull, but the other people feel threatened. Because, you know, once they know that there's language teaching, nobody wants to go for literature teaching. Well, that's more difficult. They don't have the language. They don't have the ability. And so they feel much more comfortable doing English language, ELT, MA in ELT, than MA in literature. So that was a problem. But so when we had the first conference in Islamabad, then we felt very jubilant because we thought we had won a victory. Not by any of our efforts, but some people in Islamabad had the foresight, and the person who did it was Anjum Riazul Haq. Next year, we were called again, the same people. And so we said, why do we have to meet here once a year to talk about what concerns us? Let's meet every month in our city. And so that's how SPELT started. So the people who were there, four of them became the founders of SPELT. And then during the year, those who came along, we then tipped them also because we want to be inclusive. So we took them along. Those who played an active part in the first year of SPELT, they were all called founders of SPELT. And I am listed as one of them.
Yes.
Not the founder. And I feel proud of the fact, because I think these organizations have to be inclusive. They have to take more people in if you want not to be personality based.
Yes, I think so.
And now my biggest challenge is that I am passing on the mantle to others. And I think that is as difficult as having made SPELT.
I think, I mean, I'm involved in the JOLT organization in Japan to a certain degree, but I very much admire all the people that run voluntary organizations like SPELT or JOLT or NELTA. It's a thankless task sometimes, I think.
Yeah, but you know, the thing is this, that in Pakistan, it's a much more difficult thing to do. Because we have no resources, we have no sources of funding. British Council, state agency, they are helpful, but they have their own limitations, and we have our limitations, so we don't always get funding from them. But the good thing about one state officer said, Janet Miller says, the good thing about SPELT is that they come to you saying that we want to do this. So if you give them support, they do it. If you don't give them support, they still do it.
Very proactive organization.
Yeah. So that is the thing about SPELT.
You've been going for 33 years now, is that
Yeah.
right? And the main conference is, I was looking at some of the information.
What we have tried to do is to say inaugurating conferences, concluding conferences.
Okay.
So that, you know, we still stay. The important point about SPELT is that it's a non-hierarchical body. It's a non-hierarchical body in which there are 7 coordinators, not president, secretary. So if the president is not inclined towards doing something, then without his signature things don't move.
Yes.
In South Africa, there was one organization where the constitution said that the election will be held every year during conference. So one guy didn't hold the conference for 10 years. You see, because in our culture, elders are supposed to be respected, cared for. The foreigners are respected and cared for. Now we said we are all equals. Those who work will work. Those who don't work may be a head of the department, but cannot be the president just because that person is the head of the department and is senior. It will be the work that will count. This is the Gandhian principle, you know. It will be the work that will count, not the age. So that is why we are a non-hierarchical body. And so the different 4 academic coordinator, workshop coordinator, conference coordinator, and journal coordinator, they do their work in their own orbits and only have to take any kind of sanction from the whole body if they're deviating from it in some way. You see?
Yes.
So if others are not working, at least one part keeps working. Always we don't have the same active people in all the sections, but
It's
you know,
effective.
so that's why it goes on. So that's why we are non-hierarchical, in a way beating the cultural norms, respecting our elders, but also saying that when you are on a professional platform, it will have to be on certain parameters which need to be fulfilled, whether you are old, whether you are young, whether whatever you are. And I must tell you that although I am the senior most naturally in SPELT, many times I give a suggestion and it's shot down. When it is shot down, I don't take it personally.
No.
I don't feel upset, because I do realize that organizations need to move on. They need to have fresh blood. And so I may not agree, but some things need to give. And so that is how we are progressing. And like I said, I'm in a very difficult position just now, because letting go of your baby is not easy.
Sure.
So you see, I tell them to empathize with me also. But at the same time, I say, well, I think of this. They've just done a wonderful project of Teach for Peace, in which my mentees, they did the project, they got the funding, they got everything. They called me as a consultant. And so they would consult me on different things, different committees, and I would give my suggestion, but my last sentence was always, this is what I think, but you are on ground, do what you think, right?
Yes.
And I never look back to say that my suggestions were not taken. So that is one thing I'm proud of.
Yes. And so you should be, I think.
Because I think in a lot of organizations, what happens is that, the people who have made it want to hold on to it.
To keep on to it, yeah. What's SPELT's connection to other regional organizations? Obviously you're here at NELTA
I
at the
would
moment.
say that SPELT is, although ELTAI was the oldest, but when we met, I cannot remember the year, but we had a conference in which ELTA was born, that is Afghanistan English Language Teachers Association in Afghanistan. He was born, and ELTAI came as a member. So when we said, where is your constitution? They said they don't have a constitution. Now they have a constitution. So although there was ELTAI as the eldest, but they did not conform to all the things that should have been. In this manner, SPELT has taken its inspiration and guidance from both TESOL and IATEFL. We do not follow them, blindfolded, but we say, okay, well, how does TESOL organize its program? How does X happen in this thing? Recently there have been some problems that we were sorting out, and we said, how do these people sort out these problems? Then I consulted BELTA and I consulted NELTA and said, how do you have, when you have a problem, how do you sort it out in the administrative capacity? And so a democratic decision then was taken that this is the way. You give them a warning. If they do not do what you tell them, then you can suspend them and say that you can come back if you follow these lines. So you don't close the door, but you follow. And so that's what's happening in SPELT at this point with one of the chapters. But that's something that we would not like to, it should not be personality based, it should be performance based. What exactly are we doing and how exactly is it being delivered? If not delivered, then we have the right to, because SPELT has a name, we have a right to guard its reputation.
Well, that's why you need a constitution, and
Pardon?
that's why you need a constitution
That's why
and
you
kind
need
of
a
transparent
constitution, that's
kind
why
of
you need,
governance.
I think what you need very much is at least once a month meeting of office bearers. Because without a team, organizations cannot run. And they cannot run on remote control. This cannot be done. So that is the way.
Well, thank you very much for your time, and good luck to you in the future, and I'm sure that your organization will be in
for passing on the mantle.
Exactly.
That is my major concern at this point.
I'm sure it will be fine.
Well,
I shall see. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.